Hello and welcome to the Canadian Edge. Time for another knife review, and we're back to the folders, the pocket knives, and today we're going to be looking at the SOG Aegis FL. And these are the SOG budget knives. These are about as cheap as you're going to get for SOG knives, and it's a simplistic design, but it's a functional design. And so we'll start off and see what these have to offer. They've got a blade length of 3.4 inches long. Sorry, I should have cleaned that off. Open, it's 7.9 inches long, and closed it is 4.5 inches long. And these have the 8CR13 MOB drop point blade on here, and it is a stone washed finish on it, which is nice if you do a lot of work where you're maybe hitting hard things. The stone wash doesn't show scrapes and that as easily as a mirror finish knife or a finer finish. The stone wash will hide those marks a lot better. The weight on it is 5.1 ounces, and you can see the handles on it are a stainless steel as well. It does have the pocket clip, which is a right hand deep carry tip up, and you can see hopefully that it almost lines up in the middle. It's pretty close. I don't know if that's any better for seeing it. It does go off to the one side, so it could be adjusted to sit a little bit better in there. And it is a frame lock. And I haven't shown too many frame lock knives. For those of you that don't know the difference between a frame lock and a liner lock, the lock system is built as part of the frame, so you can see it's just got a bit of a separation there, where a liner lock has the frame and then a bar that comes in on the inside. It does the same thing, it's just not a part of the frame. It's attached to the frame, and so this is a frame lock. It's an actual piece of the frame slides over and locks the blade in place. And you can see there's jimping on there to make it a little more accessible and easy to work with. And it does have the dual thumb stud. I should say the one right up I looked at on this said that the pocket clip is reversible. It's not reversible. Sorry for you guys who are left-handed. You can still work it left-handed. Well, maybe you can. I can't. But it carries only right hand. But it does deep carry, which is nice. And it does have the jimping on the blade as well as on the frame lock, as I said, to make that easier to get to. And then you've got your SOG symbol on there, the Aegis underneath. I don't know if you can see that. And so it's got the 8CR, which is the budget steel. And so far I've had good luck with 8CR. The blade play, there is no blade play on this, so it's sitting in there good and solid. And that's always a nice thing. And so, as I said, it's a very simplistic design. I do like how the black accents the stainless steel look. I think that's a nice touch. The clip, especially, I like the look of that. I like, it's a basic design, so it's not like there's a lot of wow factor to it, but it's not a bad looking knife. The ergonomics on it are pretty good. They again, the leverage, if you were slicing and that, the ergonomics of it tends to lean towards that. So if you were opening boxes or cutting rope that's attached to something, and that it gives you that leverage, which is nice. And the blade is fairly sharp. As I say, I've had some decent 8CR 13 MOV blades. They've come relatively sharp, so let's see what this one does in terms of, and this one's gonna make a liar out of it. Nope, it's working. So it does cut. Seems to be a little bit of a burr. Maybe it's my paper, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. No, seems the knife works. But it cuts the paper. It's not as sharp as some of the knives that I've tested. We'll see how it does with the old zip tie. And I don't, there, I cut through that pretty good. Zip ties tend to be a pain in the neck. They don't always cut that easy. And the nylon cord cuts through that quite easy. So it must have been just the way I was cutting the paper, that it didn't cut the paper that well. Oh, cut through that, no problem. Quite easily through there. And so it does come with a decently sharp blade. And size-wise, just to compare, those of you who are familiar with the Ontario Knife Company Rat 2, it is a bigger knife than the Rat 2. It has a little more blade length, and the handle is a bit bigger. So yeah, it's a little on the bigger side of knives. And it's not too bad a knife. This would be a good EDC for anybody who just wants an inexpensive knife that they can do lots of jobs with. SOG knives tend to be, at least in my experience, fairly well built. So it should be durable enough to stand up to a lot of jobs around the house and in the yard. And you can see it does have the open spine with a couple spacers there in the back. Make for easy cleaning. Some of the things I'm not really crazy about on this is the pocket clip screws. I don't know if you can see those. We'll try and get them tilted so you can see. They are not flush. They stick up, so that's going to be wear and tear on the pocket. And I'm surprised that more knife companies aren't thinking about that. You do get the different ones that do countersink their screws so that they're nice and flush, but a lot of knife companies don't. And so that's one of the things that I'm not crazy about. And the handle, although it is the stainless steel, so it's going to be a bit slippery if you have wet or oil on your hands for some reason or that. But to their credit, I will say that SOG did put these grooves in on each side of the handle there, and then the pocket clip also. It does give it a bit more grip than some of the stainless steel handles that I've had in my hand. They got a bit of a bevel up here on the edges, so that makes it a little more comfortable. And this jimping does give you a bit of grip, and this jimping here. So in terms of different stainless steel handles or carbon fiber handles that I've had in my hand. This probably get a better grip on this knife than you would a lot of them, but still not as much as some of the Neural G10 and different things like that. So it's the handle. It's okay. The lock is stiff on this, and it might just need to be broken in, but it's stiffer than I would like. And sorry, I'm just gonna show you. It does go over quite a bit onto the blade, probably a little bit more than is necessary, and it is stiff to push it back. You have to give it a good push, but it is doable. It's not the end of the world. And the pivot system was a little stiff when I first got my hands on this knife, but it is loosening up as I use it. And I'm not crazy about the thumb stud position. There's some knives where the thumb studs are just great. I think if it was maybe this way a little bit more, for my hand anyway, it would be easier to open. I don't find that this is always the easiest to open. And partially for me, it's just the ergonomic of the knife as to where the thumb studs are. There's times that I hit it and it opens very easy, and other times I'm pushing pretty hard. So maybe I just need to learn how to open a knife better, but I do find other knives a whole lot easier to open. For example, again, the Rat 2. Now I'm gonna embarrass myself, but it opens a whole lot easier, and it is a little more expensive knife too. But just for me, I find the thumb stud placing isn't always the easiest, but it does work. I was surprised, though, I forgot to mention on my likes, because it is a bigger knife. You can see it's got a bit of depth to it. I thought it might be bulkier in the pocket, but it actually, because it is a slim knife, it fits pretty good in the pocket. So yeah, in the pocket it's not too bad. Obviously you do notice when you put your hand in there that there is a knife in there, but because it's the smooth lines, it doesn't really interfere with your hand. It's just a little bit bigger than some of the slim knives, but definitely not a problem. But it is weighty. It's a weighty knife, 5.1 ounces, so you do notice it again in your pocket. If you're used to carrying a knife that maybe is carbon fiber and G10, quite a bit lighter. But overall, I'd say this would be a knife that, I would use for jobs in the garden and in the garage and around the house. It would make a decent EDC for anybody that wants an inexpensive knife. And like I said, SOG, I've found them to be quite reliable knives. I have a couple SOGs and haven't found any problems with them, but they were a little more on the expensive end compared to this one. And they've worked well. And so I think this would be a good EDC for anybody that is interested in them. So that is the SOG Aegis FL. And you can find these at Cabela's, which is where, Cabela's and House of Knives and Warriors and Wonders. These are quite readily available in most sporting goods stores. So SOG Aegis FL. Check them out and see what you think. And until we do I do another review in a couple days, I'll tell you to have a good week and stay safe and stay sharp.